The rain had no mercy that night. John moved through the hollow ridge forest with his lantern swinging low, mud pulling at his boots with every step. He was a simple man, a border ranger assigned to patrol the edges of the Dragon Mountains, where the old dragon territories began and human settlements ended. Nobody wanted the post. Too cold, too dark, too close to things that could swallow a man whole. He had learned to live with that. What he had not learned to live with was the sound he heard near the third ridge, a thin, broken cry, high as a needle and desperate as a drowning thing. John stopped walking. He listened. The cry came again, half swallowed by wind. He followed it. Nestled inside a cracked boulder, hidden beneath the overhang of a shattered pine, was a dragon egg, and it had already begun to hatch. The shell was deep violet, veined with gold, and the creature pushing its way out of it was no larger than a house cat. Its scales were black as ink. Its eyes, when they finally cracked open, were the color of dying stars, silver ringed with deep, burning red. John knelt in the mud. The hatchling looked at him. It did not breathe fire. It did not hiss. It made that sound again, the desperate needle cry, and reached one tiny clawed foreleg toward him. John, being John, held out his hand. The hatchling bit him. Not hard. More like a test. Yeah, John said quietly. I get that a lot. He wrapped the creature in his oilskin coat and carried it back to his outpost. He did not know whose egg it was. He did not know how it had come to rest alone in a broken boulder during a storm. He did not ask those questions, because those questions would have led a smarter man to leave the egg exactly where he found it. John was not that kind of smart. He named her Lily. He did not think too hard about whether one named dragons. He simply needed something to call her when she chewed through his boot laces or knocked his coffee off the table or curled on his chest at night, radiating heat like a small coal furnace, her silver-red eyes closed and her breath coming in tiny rhythmic puffs of smoke. She grew fast. Within a month, she was the size of a large dog. Within 2 months, she was the size of a horse. By the 3rd month, she could speak, not in the clumsy, halting way of young dragons learning human tongues, but in clean, precise sentences, with a vocabulary that suggested she had been listening and learning since the moment her eyes first opened. "You are not afraid of me," she said one evening, watching him sharpen his patrol knife. "Should I be?" John asked. Lily tilted her head. Her neck was getting long now, elegantly scaled, her wingspan still folded tight against her back. "Most humans are. Most humans haven't had you steal their socks every morning for 3 months," John replied. "Makes it hard to maintain proper terror." She made a sound he had learned to recognize as her version of laughter, a low, rolling hum that vibrated in the walls. But her eyes, those silver-red eyes, watched him with something he could not name. The emissaries arrived on a Tuesday. There were 9 of them, elder dragons, each larger than John's entire outpost. Their scales and colors he had no words for. They landed in the clearing outside his door like a small mountain range arriving for tea, and the earth shook with the weight of them. John stepped outside. He was carrying his morning coffee. The largest elder dragon, ancient, enormous, his scales the color of midnight iron, lowered his vast head until one eye, gold as a second sun, was level with John's face. "Human," said the elder. His voice was tectonic. It moved through the ground as much as the air. "You have something that belongs to us." John looked at the 9 dragons. He looked at his coffee. He took a sip. "Lily," he called back into the outpost. She appeared in the doorway, and the 9 elder dragons went utterly, completely still. John noticed this. He filed it away. "Do you know these people?" he asked her. Lily stepped out beside him. She had grown overnight again. She was now taller than the outpost's roof, her wingspan half unfurled, her black scales catching the morning light like obsidian armor. She looked at the 9 elders with an expression John recognized as the same one she wore when he asked her to eat something she didn't want to eat. "That," she said, nodding toward the ancient iron-scaled elder, "is my father." John looked at the dragon who was, apparently, Lily's father. He then looked at Lily. He thought about the egg alone in the ring. He thought about 3 months of stolen socks and chewed boot laces and small warm weight on his chest in the dark. He turned back to the ancient dragon. "She bites when she's nervous," John said. "Just so you know." The elder dragon stared at him. "You," said the ancient voice, slow as glaciers moving. sheltered the last daughter of Emperor Darren. You raised her, fed her, protected her through the hatching cold. A pause that lasted several geological ages. You are owed a debt that has no ceiling. John looked at Lily. She was watching him with those silver-red eyes. Not the eyes of an emperor's heir. Not the eyes of an ancient, powerful creature. The eyes she always used when she was waiting to see what he would say next, because she had learned, in 3 months of mornings and evenings and quiet patrols through mountain trails, that whatever he said next would probably surprise her. Keep the debt, John said. She's family. You don't charge family. The silence that followed was the longest silence John had ever stood inside. Then Emperor Darren, Lord of the Drayline Mountains, sovereign of the ancient dragon territories, lowered his enormous head until it touched the ground before a mud-booted border ranger holding a cup of morning coffee. And behind John, Lily made her low, rolling, wall-vibrating sound. The one that meant she was laughing. The one that meant she was home. They wrote about it later, in the Border Ranger Annals, in one dry, bureaucratic sentence. Ranger John successfully maintained positive interspecies relations with the Drayline Dragon territories during his tenure. Lily kept the record. She thought it was the funniest thing she had ever read. John framed it.